Welcome to the Sports Rewind Digital Podcast today. I'm joined by Powerlifter Extraordinaire Mell Green. How are you, Mel?
Hi, Joel. I'm good. How are you?
Good, mate. Plenty going
Thanks
on
for
in
having
your
me on the
world.
show.
What was that, sorry?
Thanks for having me on your show.
You're welcome. It'll be good to hear your side of what's going on in powerlifting and also some of the events and that you've been to. So we might as well jump straight in. And how did you get into powerlifting?
I think like everyone, I just started at a commercial gym and just discovered that I was stronger than most of the other people at the gym. Got to know a few local powerlifters in the area and just sort of jumped in from then.
Yeah,
obviously
right. So,
the desire to lift heavy things just took over. So once you sort of lift a certain number, you just want to keep on going.
So you are quite strong, Mel. Now, what are some of the numbers that you have lifted in competition? So, in powerlifting, there's a squat, a bench, and a deadlift component. What sort of numbers have you lifted in your squat, bench, and deadlift?
My squat in competition, I think I've done 150, bench 85, deadlift 195.
But obviously, what about with the equipment? What about when you put all the gear on?
Equipped, I think my squat in competition maybe about 180. I think I had 100 bench and over 200 deadlift. Obviously, our gym totals are always higher than our competition totals.
Yeah, for sure. I had Scott Hill on last week talking about his numbers in training, and he said exactly the same thing. Yeah, your training numbers are sometimes heavier than your competition numbers.
Yeah, I guess that's with powerlifting. We strive to perfect everything. So chances are that you're always going to lift heavier in training than you are on the platform.
Yeah. What about your training? How do you prepare for a competition?
I have a coach, so luckily he kind of directs me with what I need to do. Generally speaking, I'm prepping for a comp at the moment. I'm 6 weeks out. It's been broken up into 2 blocks over 10 weeks. So we've done a 4-week block, which I'm hitting at the last week of that 4 weeks now. And then I'm hoping I'm going to have a deload and then a 5-week build to hit the competition numbers. So 5-week build would involve probably starting at around, and we use RPE, so rate of perceived exertion. So we'll be probably starting at around a 7 and then building up to my last week of training, hitting around a 9.5.
So it is quite a big build. How many comps roughly do you do a year?
I have been known to do 5, and that was outrageous. I can never go back there. These days with the federation I lift in, you have to do at least 3, and that's just in Australia. If you want to do international, then you are sort of hitting around 4 or 5 comps in a year, and that's just raw. If you want to do raw and equipped, which is almost impossible to do the 2 if you want to compete at a higher level, yeah, you would be hitting around 6 competitions, which is a lot on your body. Like you can't recover and consistently hit big numbers if you're doing that many comps.
Yeah. Now you talked about international comps. I know just before Christmas last year you did an international comp. Do you want to talk us through that competition and I guess some of your numbers when you're over there?
Yeah, sure. So that was always a dream of mine to go to the Commonwealth Games. I have kind of had many opportunities in the past to do international competitions, but COVID ruined everything for everyone. So I finally got the chance to go to the Commonwealths, and probably 10 weeks out, I thought my chances were all over and done with because I actually tore my lat tendon. And deadlifting, surprisingly, it's a really rare injury in deadlifting. It's actually more common in throwing in baseball. And I thought, no, this is it. It's all over. I'm going to need surgery. I won't be able to lift. But surprisingly, I went to a really good physio and we rehabbed my way back from that, and I made it to Commonwealths. So my numbers over there, I think I squatted about 147, benched 85, and then deadlifted, I want to say I deadlifted 190. I went for my third attempt at 195, which would have secured me the win. But I just couldn't do it, unfortunately. So I actually ended up second place. First place was one of the local girls, a New Zealand girl. She performed amazingly. And yeah, it was probably one of the best comps I've ever been to. The organisation of it was just fabulous. The team from Australia that went over was incredible. The coaches, the other team members were so supportive. It kind of, once you do one international comp, it really makes you want to keep going and strive to do more international comps, just for the level of organisation and just the way they treated the athletes was fantastic.
Yeah. So that was with the Australian Powerlifting Union. There are a few different feds in Australia. Now, one of the reasons many people choose the Australian Powerlifting Federation is the IPF. So you get to go and lift at the International Powerlifting Federation Worlds and things like that. What does the IPF mean to you in regards to powerlifting?
Yeah, I mean, to me and for a lot of lifters who choose to compete drug-free, IPF is the prestige of the powerlifting comps, just because they do really emphasize a drug-free community. I mean, I think it's fabulous that there is other avenues for people who do choose to go down the path of performance-enhancing drugs. They have their own federation. They have their own ambitions within that federation. But for those of us who do choose to compete drug-free, IPF is definitely what is most appealing. Again, their competitions are next level as well. In October, I'm hoping I'll make it to Worlds, which is Masters Worlds for IPF, and that will be held in Mongolia, which will be so much fun. Wow. And again, it's just, yeah, the class of athletes that they do draw as well. So at the moment, we're having an absolute explosion, especially with the females in powerlifting. The numbers that they're putting up are just incredible. Like, I've never seen strength come from females that we're seeing at the moment. So I guess in a way, that's what drives a lot of us too, is we're seeing other people across the world that are achieving these incredible numbers, and we want to do the same thing. So, yeah, you know, the push to get to that level and also to be at that level in the IPF is what draws most people to that federation.
Yeah. As you said, there are lots of females getting into the sport, and there are a lot of younger females hopping in as well. What's sort of some of the advice you could give to some younger females just starting in powerlifting and want to achieve, I guess, what you have in the sport?
Yeah, powerlifting is a longevity sport. Like, you're probably going to grow with your numbers really quickly when you first start. And then those numbers, instead of, you know, PBing by 10 kilos, you're going to start PBing by 2.5 kilos. A lot of veterans of the sports, you read some of their posts on social media and they speak about, you know, it's taken them 4 years to gain 2.5 kilos on their competition total. So for younger lifters, I would say just start off slow. Like, you're going to get those numbers really quickly to start off with, and then it's going to taper off. So you have to be prepared to put in consistent work over many, many years if you want to be at the top of your sport. And don't be put off by injuries. Like, happens in every single sport, but there's a good chance that you'll get injured, you'll rehab, and you'll come back even stronger, which I have found since my latest injury. I've PB'd every single lift since I've injured myself. So to me, it's a blessing.
Come back stronger.
Absolutely.
While we're talking about injuries and, and things that you may have faced, what about some of the challenges that you face as a powerlifter, and how do you overcome them?
So challenges for me probably really are being a shift worker and trying to, one, sleep, train on days where you haven't slept. I think sleep above all is the most essential part to recovery. Like, if you want to be good at something, you have to get good sleep in. So yeah, my biggest challenge at the moment is maintaining my job, which is shift work, and I love my job. I'm not going to give that up. And also get enough hours in the gym. So to be a competitive powerlifter, like, we're looking at, a good 2 to 3 hours session, at least 5 days a week. So trying to do that when you've just come off shift and you've had zero sleep is really challenging. And I think that's more the mental side of things. Like, you have to be so strong in your head to be able to say no. Like, I don't, like, many times I've woken up and I'm like, oh, I do not want to go to training today. And it's like, no, because if I miss today, then where am I going to catch it up? I don't have enough hours in the day, because not only do I work, I have to, obviously live my life and, have a house to run as well. So it is hard. So having commitment and the mental strategies to go, okay, I don't feel like training today, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
And also caffeine is the secret to life.
Cheers. You don't drink coffee though.
Gets me through every single day.
Yeah. See, you talk about, I guess, the commitment side of powerlifting. It is massive. You might commit to a 12-week block to Worlds, or, a 15 or an 18-week block. That's a long year to commit to an event. And when you are doing shift work and you don't sleep or get broken sleep, it is hard. So what sort of things do you do for, I guess, motivation and your mental side there? Is there anything you do in particular? Like, do you meditate or do you listen to heavy music? What's your go-to?
Oh, definitely heavy music every time. It's the biggest draw card. Sorry, my dog just wants to come and say hello.
Hello.
I think, yeah, for me is more the drive to be successful. Like, success to me is not necessarily being number one. Like, I may never, ever get to be number one, but for me, the drive is to hit the numbers and the goals that I have in mind. So at the moment, I've achieved a lot of goals that I've, like, all-time goals, and I've hit that point. And now it's like, okay, so I can push those goals and that bar just that little bit higher now. So if I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I haven't slept, I've got heavy squats today, how am I going to get through this? I'm like, do you want it? How bad do you want that number? And it's like, I want that number bad enough that I'm going to get up, I'm going to put my headphones in, I'm going to put on some heavy tunes, and I'm going to get myself into the gym. So once we get there, you're fine. You're in that environment. Powerlifting is not an individual sport. You need a team of people, especially in equipped, as you know, but you need a support team. So you need a coach that is going to always be there for you, have your program ready, be ready to give you feedback. You're going to need your gym buddies just to create that environment that you want to be in the gym. If you don't have that, you're not going to turn up.
Yeah.
And I guess you need to have a goal, like whether it be a number or, just a competition that you want to do. I think if you have that set out, then the chances are you will get out of bed even after 2 hours sleep and a rough night at work.
You talk about having a team in powerlifting. Let's give your gym and your coach a bit of a plug here, because it is a massive effort, and it's not just turning up to the gym, doing what's there. It's you giving feedback to your coach as well, and your coach sort of adjusting to what you're feeling, how you've slept, all these different factors. So please feel free to give your coach and gym a plug here.
Oh, For sure. My coach, Steve Day, is an incredible lifter. He's actually an online coach. He trains and lives up in Brisbane out of Perth Motion. He's currently prepping as well to do Worlds, which is in Malta in June, again in IPF. We've had a few challenges. Like, I think him adjusting my program because of shift work, and especially in the early stages where we were just trying to figure out how to work together to get the best for me with working shift work and whatnot. So we had quite a few discussions earlier on. I changed some stuff around, he changed some stuff around, and we found a really good balance, which at the moment is working really, really well for me. How he manages his workload being a coach and training to the level that he trains, like, he is, I don't know, an incredible athlete that sets his standards higher than anyone that I've ever encountered. So for him to be doing what he's doing, providing instant feedback to nearly all of his athletes that he has on his books is incredible. He's helped me immensely, especially just, I guess, more programming wise, knowing when to push and when to pull back, which a lot of us don't really know how to do. And I get to train out of a local gym at Newcastle Barbell, which is located in Wallsend. It's been run by Courtney Miller, so a powerlifting buddy of mine that we've known for a long, long time. We've been competitors against each other. Luckily, the weight classes have changed in IPF, so we'll probably never compete against each other again. But her gym has created such a welcoming environment. It's very casual, really good mix of, beginners and, more well-trained athletes. So it's a good mix across the board. We're always having a laugh, and I think everyone actually goes there because of the gym mascot, Ivor, the dog.
Yeah, the gym mascot, you don't get far in the door without it wanting to have a pat, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Kisses and cuddles from Ivor are a must.
Now, you talk about your coach and being, committed with all these athletes, and he's providing you feedback straight away. That's pretty impressive. Now, did he change much or talk to you much about nutrition, and what sort of role does nutrition play in your powerlifting? Because I know it's a weight category sport, so you've got to stay, within a perimeter to compete. So does nutrition play a big part for you?
Oh, absolutely. Second from sleep, I think nutrition is the one thing that you really need to have spot on. Like we just spoke about weight classes in IPF, I compete in the under 69 class. So luckily for me, I generally sit body weight around 70 kilos, so I don't have to cut a lot. But with saying that, if my nutrition's not on point, then neither is my training. One thing I've learnt just more recently, getting to know, I've spoken to a few different nutritionists, is changing the way, especially women, think about nutrition. I was always sort of brought up in the era where, if you want to lose weight, you certainly don't eat potatoes, you don't eat pasta, you don't eat white bread, you cut the carbs. More recent years, I've learned that this is so wrong. If you want to perform well and maintain a specific weight class, then, your diet is going to be there for you. So eating those carbs, my diet's just potatoes and meat. And let's face it, who doesn't like that? So if my nutrition is on point, so is my performance. And I certainly don't miss out on much. Like, I have ice cream every single night. Well, it's either have a beer or an ice cream. So depends on how I feel on the night. But then getting closer to comp, obviously, I will need to cut that kilo or 2 kilos. So I will clean up my diet a little bit, as in get rid of the ice cream, get rid of the alcohol, and if need be, do a water cut. But I don't really need to do that these days, given that I'm so close to my weight class as it is. So luckily, you know, I have kind of found a few different keys, and I do recommend everyone who's starting out to seek the advice of a nutritionist, especially just to get an idea that you need lots of calories to get moving in this sport. Like the idea of, you know, having a diet that's made up of, you know, lettuce leaves and whatnot to look slim and good, that's well and truly in the past these days. It's fueling to look muscular, to be able to perform well. And generally speaking, like I'm eating, you know, anywhere from, if I'm not in comp prep, you know, I'm eating 2,500 plus calories a day, which sometimes is really hard to maintain.
It is, especially if it's good foods. I mean, it would be easy to do 2,500 calories at Macca's, for instance.
Oh, KFC any day.
eating good foods, it's hard.
It is.
Just got a couple more questions for you, mate. What's some of your proudest moments as a powerlifter?
Definitely earlier this year, I finally lifted 200 kilos deadlift raw, which was always one of my goals. And that was post-injury. So that meant so much more to me. And obviously competing at the Commonwealths, like that would have to be next to the moment that you were actually coaching me in nationals quite a few years ago when I won the APU national competition. Competing at Commonwealth was a really proud moment that I finally had done an international comp. And hopefully I'll get to relive that later this year at Worlds.
For sure. You talk about earlier about your first ever Commonwealth. I remember there was this one time that you were supposed to go to, I think it was Oceania's in Gold Coast. And what did we have, a storm or something? Was it a storm?
Oh, it was wild. I think Newcastle was on fire, so we couldn't fly out of Newcastle. So I changed my flights to go to Sydney, and then we had this wild storm, and all the flights there got delayed, actually cancelled.
Yeah. So I can't remember with Isabella. I think we ended up getting like an 11 o'clock flight or something. And then we flew into Brisbane and we got there at like 1 a.m. And then we had to drive all the way down to the Gold Coast. She got like 2 hours sleep or 3 hours sleep before she had to go and weigh in. It was insane weekend, but there was plenty of good lifting and plenty of people missed out.
That was incredible. Yeah. I kind of gave up the fight to try and get up there just after, driving down to Sydney and having my flight from Sydney get cancelled, and then sat around in the airport, and then it was just like, this is enough, because I think my flight was earlier in the day than Isabella's. I can't quite remember, but I just remember everyone up there was just so fatigued and tired from actually trying to get up there that it probably actually made a really level playing class for everyone. Everyone was sort of lifting off 2 and 3 hours sleep, and how people did that, especially the equipped lifters, I've got no idea.
And there was a group from Penrith that drove up after they missed their flight in Sydney. So they got there right on weigh-in time, and incredible. Plenty of good stories in powerlifting, Mel. Met lots of lovely people along the way.
Oh, absolutely. And I think about all the people that helped me very early in my journey in powerlifting, and I'm in contact with most of those people that I first met, and I have to say that nearly all of us are still lifting. So I think that says something about the sport. And I think I'm coming into my 8th year of competing, obviously on and off. I've had a few stints where I've tested the waters in strongman and a few other sports, but I mean, to stay competitive in a sport over 8 years says something about the sport, and I guess the people that you associate with as well.
Absolutely. Plenty of lovely people in powerlifting. And
you are right up there, Mel. Everyone. All types of people. It's open for all people as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, mate. Appreciate your time today. Make sure you get that sleep in. I know you've got some shift work coming up, mate. So thanks again for your time.
I know. I'll see you there.
All right.
Thank you so
Take
much,
care,
Mel.
Mel. See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.